Alright guys, welcome back to another recap video. We just finished up Leech Lake and we're back here at Kyle's place in Alabama. So it's been an absolutely crazy couple of days, just packing the leave for Africa. I'm literally flying out I gotta leave here in 2 hours. So we're flying out to Africa to fish with the Team Australia boys in the World Bass Championship. Absolutely crazy. There's just seems to be so much going on in my life right now and I'm absolutely loving it. It's just like fishing the opens, organising EQs, flying to Africa to fish this tournament. It's like a dream come true to be in this position, but working my hardest trying to get everything sorted. We just got back from the tournament and had to clean everything out and get everything sorted because we had a pretty rough situation after the St. Lawrence. The boat got pretty smashed up and batteries come loose in the back, smashed the jack plate solenoid and everything. And the boys, well, Brig from Hennessey Outdoors in Dayton, Tennessee, he got in contact with Carl Jochimson and said, tell Tommy to come this way. We want to help him out. And Carl sent me the text, and then I automatically rang Carl straight away because I needed some work done on the boat pretty bad. So the boys got the boat in. They did an absolutely awesome job. They replaced all the wiring, put the brand new Green Marine Lithium batteries in there for me, all mounts, fixed all the back. They even put a set of power poles on there for me for free, just second-hand ones, but unreal. There is a huge number of things that they've done to this boat, and it's unreal. So we got that boat sorted. Once we come back from the St. Lawrence, I dropped it off to them, and then drove all the way back up to Leech Lake, another 18 hours north, and we fished Leech Lake. So it turned out to be a pretty good tournament. The boat was absolutely dialed. Everything was working mint. Things were really good, and day one got cancelled because of high wind, and it wasn't actually the windiest day that we had. I reckon day three was definitely windier, and I think they should have cancelled it, but I'm happy they didn't because we ended up jumping up a place, or a couple places anyway, so it definitely was a windy tournament. So day one got cancelled, ended up just going having fun with my mate Sam Hangy, just throwing frogs around Boy Lake, and we smashed them. We got a couple 4.5 pounders, missed a few big ones, and a ton of like 2.5 pound bass. But it was a good day in the water. It's just nice to sleep in a bit, relax, recoup a bit, and go have fun with the boys. But day one, the name of the game here is smallmouth on boulders or largemouth bass, frogging and flipping up the back. It's completely two different things. You're pretty much not going to catch a smallmouth on a frog, and you're definitely not going to catch a largemouth on a boulder at the front. I don't know why. They don't seem to mix like they do down in these southern lakes. Like usually largemouth like to move offshore, but up north I think there's just such an abundance of good grass and good vegetation that the bass don't want to move. Like the largemouth bass don't want to leave those areas. And so you can really pick your poison. If you want to go chase largemouth, you can do that and you can still do well. As you can see, Lake Ahow won by fishing a frog only at largemouth, and I think that's friggin' awesome. So you can pick your poison. If you want to do that and you want to hone into that, you can still smash it. You don't have to scope your butt off and chase smallmouth. But I was pretty lucky enough to have Jacob Wheeler. He's been a good mentor of mine, and he told me, he's like, you got to have as many plans as you can possibly get. He said, as soon as you zone in on one thing, sometimes it might work, but oftentimes with fishing, things don't always go to plan. So he always told me, have as many plans as a backup as you can get. So I thought, okay, what are the two main things I can do here? Smallmouth bass and largemouth bass. So I spent the majority of my practice chasing smallmouth because I went largemouth fishing and I found a pretty good area pretty quick. And I thought, okay, well, there's my backup. I can definitely catch 10 to 15 pounds on a frog chasing largemouth pretty quick up in this area. I somehow stumbled across it probably 2 hours into chasing largemouth. Caught a few here and there, but then rolled up on this one bank and it was like almost every cast. Bang, bang, bang. Big one, big one. Well, when I say big, it's like 2 to 2.5 pounders because there's a lot of like 1.5 to 2 pounders, but it was a good enough area to me that I thought I can at least salvage a day with a half decent bag. So the rest of the practice, I just fished as many boulders, dragged as many smallmouth off a boulder, hitting mark, and idled a lot of the lake. Ended up finding one area that I thought had a lot better population of bigger fish. So once I figured that out, I spent about 6 to 8 hours just on the big motor, idling and marking every boulder that I thought looked good. and I thought I'm just going to fish it on the tournament day. And Leech Lake, if you've never been there, it's the smallmouth population isn't very abundant, so I think they've only been introduced into that lake within the last 10 years. So you're either catching like a 2.5, a 3.5, or a 5+. Like, they're just crazy, and they're really smart. So there's not that many fish as well. So like, you'll hit a boulder, you might hit 20 boulders, and 1 or 2 of those boulders will have maybe 1 or 2 fish on it. And knowing that from what the boys had told me, that's why I also sort of set up the plan to chase largemouth as well, to have a backup. But day 1, started throwing a minnow, did not get a bite, and then switched to a finesse jig. Similar finesse jig to what we used at the St. Lawrence, but this one actually ran out of the Great Lakes ones, and we were staying next to Yui Aoki, and thankfully he had a whole bag of like these evergreen Japan jigs, and that's it there. It's really cool little tungsten jig, and the tungsten actually runs way up the hook shank, so the head's a lot smaller. And if you look at this side by side with the Beast Coast one, you can really see the size difference on how much smaller that thing is. Like, the skirt's shorter, thinner. Obviously this one's got marabou, but even the head, these are both quarters, and you can tell that evergreen one in my left hand there on your right hand side of the screen is definitely smaller. And these ones definitely did work. I caught a fair few fish on this Beast Coast one still, but this one was outstanding, and it has the smallest little hook on it. I was kind of worried about putting that max scent flatworm on there. Well, not flatworm, the general, but definitely didn't seem to bother the hookup. Hookup was really good. But day 1 we smashed. I think we got 5 fish in the boat. I lost 2. We had 18.13 pounds, so almost 19 pounds. But I got smoked by 2 big ones. They actually ran me into the rocks like so quick. I was fishing 10-pound leader on the first day, but then I ended up going up to the Olltolos in the 12-pound and the 14-pounder to stop them. So day 2 I didn't lose any, thank God, but fishing that lighter line on day 1 definitely was an issue. So changing that heavier Olltolos, I could actually pull them out of the rocks, and I actually had a 4.5-pounder. I think it was actually 5, and I was fighting it for ages, and I went into these rocks, and I just backed the dragway off. So it was almost all the way loose, and I just feathered him through the rocks just super slow, because I knew if I had it tight, as soon as you stretch that fluorocarbon and you've got abrasion on it, it's just going to pop. So if you can leave as little amount of tension on there as possible, less chance of breaking off. So just really slowly feathered him through, got him up, scooped him in the boat, and my leader was just trash. But that Olltolos, I can tell you what, it can go through as many rocks as you can get. As long as you treat it right, you're not pulling too hard, you're going to get those fish out. So that was an absolute lifesaver. Without that, I probably wouldn't have even cashed a check. So shout out to Olltolos, big time. But day two was actually crazy. So took off out of the takeoff, and my prop slung a blade within 10 minutes. And I'm driving along and just goes, backs out. So I slowed down, and the engine's shaking because it's not level with the pitches and all that. And this Ultrex, the pivoting point on it, it's been all replaced now. The boys at Hennessey have replaced it, but the pivoting point on it, it just gave way. All the bushes come out, all the bolts broke, and the frame bent and everything. This is in the first 10 minutes, and I was like, man, I think I was sitting in 27th place, so I really didn't want to just give up. And I rang Hank, the tournament director. I said, Hank, I got 2 questions. I said, can I leave the boat to change the prop? He said, yes. And I said, is the service yard here? And he said, no, they've already gone to La Crosse, Wisconsin for the Bassmaster Elite event. And I was like, damn. So quickly swapped the prop out, and it was probably a good thing that service yard was there because it made me fish with what I had. So I pulled up, raining, windy, and I'm out in the water, changed the prop on the boat. And then the only way I could get that electric motor to work was by stowing it or deploying it, and then using that Velcro strap that you mount over it when it gets windy. And I just put that over it, strapped it into place, and the shaft was on an angle like this, like it was never straight, but it did the job. But ended up going up to a little back creek where I found those largemouth in practice, and put the old Teckle kick knock or sprinkler frog into work. This is I've actually got the one I use in the tournament away for Africa, but this is one that I caught him on in practice. Ended up losing the weight in it, but top quality frog. But just burning this across the top of the weeds, boom, blow up. And if I didn't catch one that blew up and I threw back in there the frog and didn't eat again, I'd just rip in there behind it with like a little speed worm with a 3/16 ounce weight and just work it through. And 9 times out of 10, they just eat the speed worm straight away. But bigger bites definitely came on the frog, and I cracked, I think, 12 or 13 pounds pretty quick with the frog. And I thought I could probably keep doing this and maybe catch a 4-pounder. There was a lot of boats around me, and I thought I better head back out to the wind and waves and try and chase a smallmouth. If I can get 1 4 or 5 pounder, I'll be happy. And my bag was pretty much full of 2 to 2.5 pounders, and I think I had 1 or 2 3 pounders in there, or like they were 2.95s. So packed it up. There was grass all through the boat. We had a box full of green ones in the back, and went out into the waves. And I put the electric motor down, strapped it again, and it's shaking all over the shop. Props coming out of the water, and live scope. When your shaft's on an angle like this, as soon as your bait lands, it leaves the beam. So I had to like turn the head as it was sinking to keep it in the beam. And the picture was all different. It looked real strange, but ended up making it work. Just put my head down for 4 hours out there and just went after it, because I knew if I get a couple bites, they're going to be good ones. And I managed to get 4 bites of smallmouth. Absolutely unreal. I couldn't believe it. And all in that finesse jig again, and each one of them was like a 3 to 3.5 pounder. Scooped them up, got them in the boat, and I was happy as. And even one of them, I scooped it up and I had it pinned against the hull of the boat, and it was shaking its head, and the finesse jig flew out, and I'm like hanging onto him with dear life, and I just scraped him over the gunnel and threw it in. So it's crazy how like all these finer things, like so many things almost went wrong for me to not catch a fish. But if you just put your head down, work hard, and just keep at it, you're going to get those fish. So it's a crazy sport, this bass fishing. It's full of adversity, and you just got to keep punching through it. And you know, when you got guys like Hennessey Outdoors, I dropped this boat into them on the way back, and they literally just put a brand new base plate on the electric. And there's guys like that in the industry that'll help you out, which makes a huge difference. Now this boat's running mint, everything's dialed, and without support like that, you know, I don't know, it just makes life a lot harder. So shout out to Hennessey Outdoors, and another awesome week. So we double qualified, we're in the EQs, we're about to fly out to Africa in a couple of hours here, and then when we get back, we got a few days before we head to the first Bassmaster Elite Qualifier event at Lake Champlain. So absolutely pumped, frothed out to the max, but yeah, super happy, and we'll see how we go in these EQs. We're going to make top 10, so fingers crossed we can make the elites this year. Let's go.